The definition of European is a practice, not a legal category. You can see here is a combination of a being practice of a European. It is shared values, which is mostly focusing on the role of humanitarian issues. I'm going to criticize some critical points of the EU in the last decades, but in general, EU mostly focusing on the shared values of European culture. And once Robert Schuman, who is the creator of the European Union, the idea of European Union, we know the first European Union considered it itself as an European economic society. Then it evolved and growth with the European society. Now we are entitled it as a European Union, which means political, economic and societal union. But being European as an identity is more broadened than these political concepts. Second one is the cultural interaction, which is also a result of this Erasmus project. How these cultural interactions can be supported or funded by EU institutions to develop, to strengthen the youth participation and to analyze what the European community needs, because each project focusing on a need. Why we have created this project? Because we defined a problem on being European identity and how it should be growth. This is why being European is broader than as some institutions. Cultural interaction is a second significant point in this practice. As also the solidarity, the term solidarity, which grants of the European identity. This is why the social solidarity, which we also needs very much today. Why? Because we have significant problems such as migration, ongoing conflict on Ukraine, the Russian invasion, as well as still Israel, the United States and Iran war, which also unfortunately supports the migration flow towards the Europe. As also we know, Europe has some political problems like rising right-wing populism in Europe, which makes as an antagonist policies towards the European societies, which means who are the others, who are the Europeans. But this should be overcome with the social solidarity. And you can see that we have some values, but these values only exist when they are practiced by people, by you. It means these are very significant book sentences. Yes, we know human dignity, freedom, democracy, rule of law, and respect for diversity. But if we cannot act, if we cannot practice, and if we cannot understand each of us, who is different, why he or she inform itself as a being different, how we can overcome it. This only when we are practice it and by people, by you. It means being a European needs an action, okay? This is why the Erasmus projects and Youth in Action, the name of the projects, supports the practices between different groups of people who are both a part of Europe, who are also counterparts as well as the secondary partners of Europe, being non-EU country, but can be directly involved in EU relations like Turkey. This is why you are all here and you are all welcome again. It means we need to have some practices. This is why these freedom, democracy and rule of law can be growth with these practices. And now you are Europe in motion. You can see the high level of circle consists the Europe, but we should understand and negotiate identities, because we have in the 21st century, we have national identities as also being a Europe, also encourages some sub-national identities, being Czech, being German, being French, being as Austrian. All the member countries have some national identities, but the European is an identity of supranational body which covers all both national identities, is also part of European identity. It's a question here, how we can balance it. It is not an easy issue. This is why EU is an ongoing integration process, not meaning that integration stop. If the integration stop, there will be some clashes of identities. This is why we are personally negotiate our identities between being European and between being our national identity. Second one, the second circle consists connect cultures socially. This is also what the European projects do. And also these projects supports these cultures societally as well as the social integration with the supports of EU project. But we are also physically cross borders, and it may have some creates a problem on the migrants. Today I will discuss 2 points of these migrants, being Ukrainian migrants and being Syrian migrants in Europe, and what about the reflections over this European identity. And as also the Erasmus, where it points, the Erasmus is also very significant name of the European thinker, and it supports this integration, and it's like a microscope of this identity. This is why in all Erasmus projects, we gather together with the different participants, with the different backgrounds, with the different political priorities, with the different national identity. But it creates itself as a synthesis with the Erasmus topics, like youth in action as beyond borders, like digital diplomacy, or like the city diplomacy, which I also have some experience over the areas. It means thousands of subjects Erasmus has. Try to limitize the differences and try to strengthen the diversity being in a same manner. This is the key point of the Erasmus motions. And yes, migration, it is one of the most effective political issue in today. And unfortunately, migration both a process and the result of ongoing political clashes and have some different reasons. Most of them today is concerning with the internal wars, like it was finished in 2025 in Syria. But more than 15 million people are now migrants around the world as a result of Syrian war, as well as Afghan migrants, Iranian migrants, and different Asian countries have some migrants flow towards the Europe, not just from the Asia, but also in Africa and in different countries. Unfortunately, their flow directly goes through the Europe, and it creates a political stress over the societies as a result of cultural clashes, as well as the rising political populism against the other, and it started to challenge the European identity. Also, climate pressures, economic instability, and political polarization was also a result of this migrants flow towards the Europe. And now more than 15 or 18 years, like the global financial crisis, stress the European economies and societies. Then this migrants flow towards the Europe becomes a stress on European values. If really Europeans are sound judgment in their identity, or if they really would like to keep it as core European values. I think this is the main problem today, witnessing it. And you see it's a structural feature of Europe, the migration, and the continuous test of its identity. Here you can see the matrix of Syrian refugee crisis, which has started in 2015. and the Ukrainian refugee crisis, which is unfortunately ongoing, and there is no exact signal to be finalized the Russian invasion towards the Ukrainian. Hopefully, in the upcoming months, there will be a solution, and I do really pray for it, because it is still creates both security and societal problems, not just over Europe, but also across the Black Sea region, which is Turkey has a direct coastal line with the Black Sea region. And here you see the Syrian refugee crisis creates a journey risk with the dangerous journeys. Unfortunately, we have witnessed it. More than thousands of children, as well as the babies, infants, are unfortunately died in these dangerous journeys because of the lines towards the Mediterranean and Aegean Sea, and some precautions of some countries like Greece and the other Mediterranean countries who try to avoid these migrants towards Europe, and it was resulted with unfortunate deaths. And when the Ukrainian refugee crisis started 2022, most of the European countries created immediate legal protection, and they organized some structured integration mechanisms how we can integrate these migrants towards the European economies as well as European society. And I have personally witnessed that. Unfortunately, European identity challenged in this two migration crisis, and Europe prioritized the Ukrainian refugees and fastly involved itself, but unfortunately they didn't show the same manner for the Syrian refugee crisis. I can understand what the political reasons behind it as a political scientist, but we should also try to show why European identity couldn't come together in the same manner with the two different crises. It should be discussed, it should be understood. And we can see that as for an integration of the people who become a migrant at the end of these political problems, it is not an easy to show high empathy, not just for Europe, but also all over the world. Here we have also witnessed in Turkey, more than 5 million Syrian refugees made their journey towards the Turkey. We have host them, and this is one of our cultural responsibility. But even some parts of the society reject it and try to avoid this. It can be understood because the high empathy is not an easy issue. How we can show this high empathy with the cultural and also geographical some closeness, as well as some understanding if I am going to see the same crisis, how we can react at it. But ontologically, I mean, it is structurally not an easy issue. We can understand. The main problem, if the term and identity of European is respect towards the others, respect and cultural integration, cultural awareness, this should be more than it did it before. This is the main issue that I'm going to discuss it. And you can see the integration is not a one-way interaction. It should be a mutual interaction. And it is not a meaning of assimilation, because if it is being part of assimilation, it is also means that not a respect the other's identity. It should be the interaction which needs to be in very hospitable ways, and this creates the interaction between migrants and societies. If it is made with a mutual institutionalized manner and socially supported, it creates and supports the integration, accelerates. If there is some barriers against this interaction, it creates an exclusion deepens. You can see diversity and migration as the engines for value creation. These values also needs to be part of this European identity. As I also mentioned in the beginning of my speech, being a European is a meaning of having some European values. These values is also consists with a political term, pluralism. Pluralism means the minority also has some political rights in a society. The pluralism is also being a part of this different views, different understanding, different ideas, and respect to this pluralism, and also trying to support the rights of minority. This is why it is also being a part of this European value creation. And when you make it with the labor market support, how you involve these migrants towards the workforce, and with some innovative projects which is supported by the EU foundations, and this also supports the cultural enrichment. And is a key point here how Erasmus projects can be support as also like a supportive manner in this position. And Erasmus directly challenges this solidarity gap, which also tries to exposing participant to diversity. Also, your participation is a significant example for today. And it is also reduces distances and try to normalize the differences between the others, which all direct human interaction that our Polish friends are now here to support this human interaction. As well as you are going to share your experiences while in this full day, and also with the cross-cultural engagement with both speech and with both the activities of İnsan İzi, as also human print, try to support this engagement. This was also trying to support the high empathy towards the others. In this speech, I'm trying to support and also kindly push you all to understand why Europe act differently in these two migration crises. Now you can see these transforming values towards the solidarity. Here we have everyday cross-cultural engagement with the role of digitalization. You can all witness what's happening in all over the world, and you can understand and put yourself towards the other. How can I react if I am in this same position? When you understand and make your perspective over this, you can try to change your mentions and try to change your perspective over the issues. It means you should live it, you should practice it daily, and you should experience it. Otherwise, this solidarity cannot be increased. Can be a good sign that I'm really respect and have a solidarity, but if you cannot act it, the action means doing something different your routine, doing something different it is yesterday, okay? Start to change something different. It doesn't mean that try to carry lots of things into the new routines. It means try to start your change, okay? It is a good motto, but the change is an action. If you cannot do it, the routines cannot be changed. And you can see socializing future Europeans which, beyond the national frameworks. It supports the long-term European consciousness, and it helps us to understand complexity, and it also resists simplistic narratives. Narratives is a significant psychological and societal issues because we have different narratives around our brains. We should understand what the reality is. How can we understand? We can understand to be involve ourselves towards the issue. Otherwise, we cannot understand. We can started to believe the narratives over our brains, okay? And it is try to support us build an inclusive sense of we. This is we gathered today to understand and try to solve some problems or try to create some new ideas. If you create something new, it's a good result, okay? It doesn't mean that all the news, all the benefits should be a financial profit. It's a machinery thinking. It should be a new learning, new experiences, what now you are all doing, or new engagements, new touches. Now I'm very happy to see that I think more than 12 Polish friends are here. I do really wish to believe in Warsaw. Most of our universities have some Erasmus agreements with different universities, like University of Lodz we have. My department have 5 different Erasmus agreements with the Polish universities. It means that this also supports our consciousness. And now I'm going to finalize my presentation, and I don't want to be very high up than this seminar speech, more than 20 minutes, because the different distinguished speakers will have the other speeches after me. Here you see what has Erasmus given us: active responsibility. This is one of the projects you have involved in. And also started to challenge exclusionary narratives. And we are now promoting inclusive dialogues, as well as act as bridge between the communities. I do really believe that more than different communities will involve your activities. Like today, the Polish ones have participated. Then the Turkish students will actively participate in the different and in some abroad. This is why we need to support, and we have to create a new ideas which is based on the problems, okay? The projections needs to focus on the societal problems. If you don't know what the problem is, you cannot project it. You cannot create a projection or projects over it. This is the key point here. And as a result, the Europe is a continuous project, and which is defined by connection. It will not finish in a time scale. This means how being a European can grow. The first, understand what the community needs, what the societal problem is hidden there. In this speech, I'm trying to show that the understanding against the migration and migrant flow towards the 2 different cases over the Europe creates a problematic issue and stresses over the European identity. How we can overcome it, and what we need to do this. Europe's potential is being European is not about borders. This project also shows that it's over the borders, and it creates its name, the Beyond the Borders. It's about connections. It's the power you have to make Europe more coherent, inclusive, and real, rather than being populist politics. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you have some questions, if you have some comments, I think I have 2 minutes to be replied. Or if you have some conversation, we can do it over in the break. Yes, please. First, if you inform your name. Welcome. I think it doesn't work, but we don't need it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much for your contribution. Exactly, this is correct. Unfortunately, the Russian danger is not a new one for Europe, both from the empire period as well as the Soviet period. And mostly the Poland, unfortunately, becomes a directly threat for the Russians. You correct. But unfortunately, the issue that I'm trying to mention, that from being a European identity to respect the others or to welcome the others, it is more different than the Ukrainians. Here some political reasons, like you mentioned, but Europe, as the political institutions of the Europe, needs to be more aware about the other crisis, become, rather than far from geographically, needs to be involved in its political priorities, the different political crises. And now the Donald Trump era is also challenging the Europe mostly, and we are witnessing it. I think the Europe is more consciousness politically than the than before a decade. And hopefully the European Commission will be more involved the different crises rather than being geographically, more than being a European identity. Thank you. It needs a time. Yes. Because the main point is, as also I mentioned, European political unity, both a part of national governments and European Parliament, European Commission. It is not an easy issue because local politics driven it. But the change of maybe in Hungary, like the Urban, a new one, the Europe will have a new political wind. We will see. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Do we have one more question or comment? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. See you all in the next phases.